Good evening, and welcome to the second ever episode of New Podcast Plus. This is Culture of Gaming's Nintendo podcast. We have three guests here with me today. First, my name is Omar. I am an editor here at Culture of Gaming. We also have Taylor Evans.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. We got John Hansen.
Hey.
And Kevin Alvarez.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. What do you all do here at Culture of Gaming?
So I usually host the Power Up podcast, which is another podcast that Culture of Gaming does. It's part of a generalized gaming one with Anthony and Andrew and whoever we have for a fourth seat. And that's usually at Saturdays, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on twitch.tv/Culture of Gaming. And then past that, I do a little bit of editing. I don't even know what exactly my specified role is anymore. It's like I'm writing stuff, I'm doing some media stuff, I do a bunch of website
Master of
stuff.
the Universe.
Yeah, let's go with that. That's a good title. I'll put that on the business card.
All right, Master of the Universe, Taylor Evans. John Hansen, what do you do?
I mostly focus on just writing. I do some reviews, but I just try and write whatever I can think of. It's about pretty much all I've done here.
All right, and Mr.
What's
Kevin
your latest
Alvarez.
review?
What's up?
What's your latest review there, John?
Below.
Okay.
For the Xbox One. Yep.
All right, go read that.
And for me, I'm a writer here at culturegaming.com. You can find my reviews on the website, on our various social media platforms. And I also do comic book reviews, video game reviews, and show up as a guest in these podcasts.
Very nice. Yeah, speaking of those social media platforms, we've got everything, really. We've got Facebook and Twitter, YouTube and Twitch. On Facebook and Twitter, you can find us at cog.net. And then YouTube and Twitch, you can just search for Culture of Gaming. Also, Taylor, you always mention that MySpace. I never found that one. But
Right, so specifically, we have a MySpace for the Power Pod, or for
Okay.
the Power Up podcast.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if anything gets posted on there. I don't think we do. I think we just did it for the meme a while
It's
back.
for our garage band that we're starting up.
Exactly. You're looking at all 4 members right now.
You can also look for us, look for our unique Discord channel. You can just go to culturegaming.com. There's going to be a little widget on the right side and, join us through there.
Oh.
Very good. All right, well, without further ado, we're going to head into the weekly Nintendo news. We've got a little bit shorter segment on the news this week just because we want to be able to cover as many games from 2018 that we can. Let's see here. The first thing on the agenda we've got comes from Vicky Blake at Eurogamer. And this was about the president of Nintendo recently talking about how Nintendo may start to move away from console development. One of the biggest things that I've found, one of the points that he brought up was just that sometimes the software developers will kind of worry, maybe is this hardware really going to succeed? And he just doesn't want them to have to worry about that when it's not really something that they should have to be concerned about. What do you guys think about it? All of this.
I guess I'll go first. I don't really ever see them getting away, especially with how big the Switch is right now. Like, they're only gonna adapt on the model that they currently have, and who knows years from now what their next console will be. If they were ever going to get out of the console business, it would have been with the failure of the Wii U. Then they would just kind of pull a Sega where they would just stop making consoles and just focus really on just the games and everything, which they've always been great at anyway. But if they didn't do it then, why would they do it now when they are really just outpacing the PS4 and the Xbox One at this point in its life cycle?
Right. Yeah, the only thing that I could see them actually kind of moving away from more dedicated hardware is if there's a more streaming-focused future. But as of right now, it doesn't quite make much sense.
Yeah. I interpreted the article kind of interestingly, I will say that the title of the article didn't do it justice. I don't know if you want to link it in chat or something. But what I got
Sure.
from it was more that Nintendo, for like a super duper long-term business model, would be okay with eventually moving away from consoles at any given point. Because remember, in
Right.
1895, they started as what, like a playing card company or something like that. And so, a majority of Nintendo's history hasn't actually been making video game consoles.
Right.
But
It's about just
and
making entertainment.
Right,
Yep.
exactly, because they are a Nintendo Entertainment Company, so whether that's playing cards or something. So to me, this was more of they'll follow whatever market trends. They still view gaming as profitable for a for a business model. Then of course they'll keep making game consoles and everything. But
Right.
Mhm.
yeah, so that's kind of what I got out of it.
Right.
I kind of see what Taylor's saying. How I think for them, they're just trying to see where where the wind is blowing for them, how it's going to look like in the future. Because you also got to remember, not every one of their consoles was successful. They've had a lot of downtimes, and during those downtimes, they're losing a lot of money and profit and investors. So, like, how often do they want to keep doing that? Are they going to just keep flipping and flopping between high success to low success? That isn't good for a business long term to be always put in that precarious situation. So I think they're Nintendo. They know what they're doing. I wouldn't mind if they stop making console games. I mean, if they stop making hardware, they're still going to be making software and make that available on other platforms. It just depends what works best for the business model. But I still think they're still going to be making games, to the foreseeable future, because the games industry, there's still a ton of money in the industry, to the point where a lot of like book industry or the film industry still are surprised how much profit the video game industry does, because we're in those circles, so we kind of know how big the industry is, but outsiders usually are always surprised at how much profit and money is being traded in the video game industry, especially
Right.
as it's growing with our mobile phones, our consoles, our PC, esports. All these things are starting to add up more and more and more, and as more people come into playing games from all walks of life.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is that the video game industry is the like biggest entertainment earning thing right now, isn't it?
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
yeah, it is constantly just getting more money than films, which is probably the biggest surprise for people. Books, everyone loves them, but it's books.
They're so cheap.
To be honest, they're
Yeah.
going away.
Yeah.
Like-
So I mean, yeah, no, by no means is Nintendo ever gonna move away from Mario, which is
Right.
one of the biggest names of all time. So
It would be
no,
like
but-
Disney moving away from Mickey Mouse.
Right.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
I just find this quote really weird that it's happening now when the Switch is so huge and when everyone wants it, when Smash Brothers just came out and everyone's excited for that. When, like, give it, I don't know, 4 years ago, if they said this during the Wii U's heyday, I've been like, oh, yeah, I could see that happening.
Right.
It is a little bit too, since the Switch is doing so well. Slightly manufacturing news just because of the headline.
It's a slow news.
When they're not. It's not like they're seriously considering doing away with their hardware division.
It's not right now.
To be quite honest, it is very clickbaity. The title makes it come off as, oh, Nintendo is actually considering this right now. When if you actually read the article, I mean, who reads articles nowadays? It's all headlines, right?
Mhm.
Then Nintendo's president was basically saying, it's like, we are an entertainment company, so it's like, if there's no profitability in game consoles, then we're not going to make game consoles anymore. And that's literally all he was saying. I would also
Right.
like to add that he specified home consoles, which means
Right.
maybe Nintendo, which is adds a different interpretation to it also, because maybe Nintendo might see a lot more money to be made in a mobile market and design like a purely handheld system for the next one. That's sort of like, I would imagine it basically is a Switch minus the dock at this point, because I think the Switch right now has a really great balance between like a DS or like a Wii U or something, like a home console versus DS,
Mhm.
So
And I almost feel like the Switch itself is like they would almost look at that as like even though they say it's a home console that you can use on the go, it's really it's a portable that you can connect to your TV.
right. Yeah.
Also, if you look at the article, if you look at the date, don't get confused. Those are just the way that the Europeans do dates. It's not from June 1st. It is, in
It is
fact, from
right.
January 6th.
No.
But yeah, so clearly Nintendo's hardware division isn't going anywhere, and And it's partially thanks to a lot of something like this next story from Direct Feed Games on Twitter. There have been so many third parties coming to the Switch. It's just insane. And the most recent rumor is that Witcher 3 is coming to the Nintendo Switch at some point. And I have no idea how that would work. Maybe 2-bit,
have you guys,
480p.
I don't know if you guys remember, but when Witcher 3 came out, I think around the time of the DLC, the Wine and Blood, if I'm not mistaken.
Blood and Wine.
Yeah, Blood and Wine. My mistake. I didn't buy the DLC. There was an article of this guy who kind of like de-resed Witcher 3 to almost like PS2 level of graphics, but it still looked kind of good for a PS2 games. I could see that, but for the Switch.
Well, that kind of makes me wonder then what Doom. I keep wanting to say Doom Immortal, but
Eternal.
Doom Eternal. What that's gonna look like, because I'd have to imagine they'd have to knock
Close to
things
the
down
first
a
one.
bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Even on the PC stuff we've seen for Doom Eternal, it doesn't seem that far away from the first one. And don't get me wrong, the first one still looks like a very good game today.
It does, definitely. I just hope that they do bump up the graphics a little bit.
Yeah, it depends on how they do graphics, because I'll be honest, like I played a lot of games on my PS Vita, and I put more combat at that on that thing. It looks like complete crap, but it runs beautifully, and the gameplay is 60 frames. You know, the whole gameplay experience is there. It just looks like crap. But that was a caveat, you know, to buying it on handheld, so I could play it on the bus.
Right. And then the big difference with Switch is that you're actually getting the full games instead of like the Vita having kind of like special versions.
GIMP versions.
Yeah.
Right.
Nerfed, as some may say.
I remember in 2015 when Witcher 3 came out, and the amount of controversy it actually caused in the PC gaming community because of how hard it was to run in some aspects, because NVIDIA debuted their very advanced tessellation technology called Hairworks with The Witcher 3. And basically, for whatever reason, the AMD cards at the time, and I don't think it's changed since then, but their architecture doesn't handle tessellation so well but NVIDIA's does. And so there was this sort of what people deemed sort of this exclusive NVIDIA graphics feature for The Witcher 3 for Hairworks. And AMD came out with their own technology. It's called like Hair Effects or something like that. You can find it in the Tomb Raider games, which works just fine on NVIDIA cards also because they use tessellation. But anyway, so the point that I'm getting at here is it wasn't just the Hairworks that was causing an issue, though. When people went into it more, it's like the game was using just a dumb amount of tessellation. So even with or without Hairworks, it would run poor on AMD systems. And the even greater point here is that so the Switch does have an NVIDIA Tegra chip in it as a graphics processor, so that might not be an issue, but tessellation is very strenuous on any sort of hardware anyway, let alone mobile themed hardware.
Yeah, I know absolutely nothing. I know absolutely nothing about game development, but I wonder if they would just be able to knock that down a bit to get it to run better on the Switch, or run it all on the Switch.
You'd have to rewrite a lot of portions, like you have to rewrite most of lighting, a lot of the render calls, etc.
Okay.
So
at the end of the day, I don't really think this is even coming though, because even if you go to the link that you brought up, like in the tweet, they're like, the site seems suspect to say the least. Like I highly doubt this is actually happening.
There is
if it does come, it'd be really impressive though if they managed to get that entire game into a little bite-sized cartridge. You know?
Yeah, I would give it a try. I never played it.
I've been following Dark Souls on the Switch rumor, like a Dark Souls trilogy on the Switch rumor since like July of 2017. So
and they eventually came out with the original, but not the other two. And then there was also another thing that they had included about Assassin's Creed 3 remastered on the Switch.
No one wants that.
I don't know.
No one wants that.
No.
Okay, on to things people care about.
I'll take 4 on the Switch. I'll rather get 4 on the Switch instead of 3.
Well, it was on the Wii U, wasn't it?
Couldn't tell you.
That was 4 was Black Flag, right?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was on Wii U. Maybe I'm remembering completely wrong, but who knows? All right, and then our last news story of the day was the beginning of Awesome Games Done Quick. So for those who are not familiar with AGDQ, it's essentially just a huge marathon of speedrunning where they raise money for different foundations depending upon if it's AGDQ or SGDQ, which is the one that they do in the summer. It runs for a week, 24/7, just playing video games, raising money for the... right now it's the Prevent Cancer Foundation. The summer one raises money for the Doctors Without Borders. Right now, we were just talking about they have Mega Man Zero 2 going on. What's your guys' experience with Games Done Quick?
Oh, I love watching them. Like, I love watching Marathon. I'm trying to catch it every time I can. It's just AGDQ is always kind of awkward because I'm usually at CES. Like, it will be this next week while it's going on, so I don't catch as much of it as I would like to. But, you know, SGDQ is more my jam when they do in the summertime.
Sure.
And I always love, my favorite block to watch is the Metroid block, followed by the really long-winded Zelda blocks. Like, I always love watching, like, the 4-hour Twilight Princess speedrun that they do.
Yeah, they were talking about at the beginning, they were going to be doing a Final Fantasy IX speedrun at some time. It's like a 9-hour speedrun, and they're going to be split up between 3 people. Just ridiculous. Let's see, we've got a few Nintendo games though coming up. We've got Zero 2 going right now. After that, there's Majora's Mask, and then that's all the Nintendo actually for today. And it starts out tomorrow with Bomberman 64. And if you love just video games in general, they have a lot of retro games that they speedrun on there. So if you're a big fan of Nintendo, you'll definitely see some stuff there. It looks like we lost Kevin for a second, but he's back. All right. That's good.
He's back.
I had to sneeze.
Yeah, you can just mute your mic.
So, John, do you follow this at all? Or
Yes and no. I don't get like super into it. I do like seeing like little clips people put up on social media, and every now and then when I'm on YouTube, I'll look up something. I mostly like watching just like all the like breaking the game stuff they do with like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, where they'll like put the bomb down, explode him, make him go through the wall and everything. I love that kind of stuff about it. The newer games I don't really pay attention to. I wouldn't ever marathon it, but it is kind of cool seeing just how much better these people are at games than I am.
Not a matter of being better, it's more of just, you know, they run specific segments for like thousands of times over.
Yeah, they broke it down with the taskbot and figured out where all the holes and the seams and the textures were, and all the models, all that fun stuff.
Last year, it was my first time. I've always known about it, but I've never actually sat down and watched it. So last year, I really got into it because I was surprised. Because honestly, I thought it was people just trying to beat the games as quickly as they can. When in actuality, it's about using glitches. It's about you know breaking the game in certain ways to be able to achieve that. I didn't know that part at all. So what got me into it is during the summer they were playing not Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, and the way that they would break the game and how the guy would swim back and forth, create like the speed, and then they'll launch him across the entire map. And I was like, that really surprised me. So now I'm into watching these speedruns to see how they break the game, or just how the game, you know, how the game works, because how confirmations of certain items in your inventory and how that would affect the, you know, like the quest system or anything that would give you an advantage to keep going forward and breaking the game and breaking the walls. I thought it was really cool.
Oh yeah,
so speaking
absolutely.
of Wind Waker, you should definitely catch the Wind Waker speedrun this year, because since then they've discovered the barrier skip, and that cuts like 3 hours off the speedrun.
Jeez.
Wow. And it's amazing that they keep discovering new things also. That I find that amazing. You're talking about a game that came out God how many years ago, and you're still finding new things. That's crazy.
I feel like there was also something like a death glitch that I saw before in that game where you don't have to sail.
Zombie glitch.
Yeah. Just check it out. You'll see it's pretty awesome. Or you can even find it on YouTube, I'm sure. Lost Taylor for a second there, and he's back. All right.
No, I just mute it as the dogs go off in the background because I don't want to.
Got it. Yeah, dogs are great, but not so great for podcasts. Okay, And now that all the news is done with, we'll get into the best part, favorite part, top 5 part, I might say, of the podcast, where we're going over our top 5 games from Nintendo, for Nintendo systems, whatever you like, whatever you enjoyed, as long as it's been on a 3DS or a Switch this year. Or I guess a Wii U. There are a couple Wii U eShop games that came out.
Just Dance 2019.
Yeah, Just Dance.
That came out on the original Wii as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good stuff. So you could definitely have Just Dance 2019 for the Wii on your list if you wanted, and then I would mute you.
Rip.
Okay, so I'll start out with my. We'll start with our number 5s and just kind of rotate. So my number 5 is WarioWare Gold. And what that is, if you've never played a WarioWare game before, then what's wrong with you? But also, it's just a combination of a bunch of different ridiculous couple second long mini games, or as they call them, micro games, where it's like you got to use the touchscreen on the DS or blow into the microphone, tilt the console.
Those are so cool of gimmicks. I remember
Yes,
like the
absolutely.
WarioWare DS game that came out like back in 2006 or 7 or whatever.
Mhm.
And I mean, yeah, they were all surrounded around like the DS's gimmicks, but God, were they so cool.
Yeah, the great thing about this title, though, is a combination of all the best micro games from all the Game Boy Advance, the DS games, I can't remember, there was Touched, which was DS, there was mini micro games or whatever the Game Boy Advance one was called, and then I can't remember if Tilted was Wii or just another DS game, was it Twisted? Who knows? But yeah, it's a combination of all the old games, and then there's some also new content as well. It's just like pretty much the greatest WarioWare game in the world, just because of the combination of everything.
Yeah.
Anybody else have some good memories with WarioWare?
I've never played any WarioWare.
Oh my god!
My only experience with it would be in that Super Smash Brothers level where you have to like kind of mess with it while
Yep.
you're fighting. Always
And
thought that was pretty cool.
Actually, side note, quickly, that's from Game and Wario, not WarioWare.
Whatever.
It's essentially the same, but yeah.
Okay. But
No.
yeah, my bad. Just take me off now. Yeah, I gotta figure they've got to be like working on one for the Switch, right? With like all the HD Rumble stuff with the
Yeah, for
Joy-Cons. I mean, that's got to be down the pipeline, right?
Yeah,
Wonderful.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, put a Joy-Con in your pocket and then tape one to your forehead or something. Who knows? So yeah, Taylor, what did you have for your number 5?
All right, so my number 5 is Overcooked 2, actually.
Nice.
And this kind of comes just because it wasn't necessarily like my favorite, or it's like within the top 5 favorite games. It was more of just because of how much memories it drew back, because I grew up playing Cooking Mama both on the Wii and DS and everything. So that reminded me a lot of that. So I just had to put it on there. I really
Nice.
enjoyed that game. You kind of run around a kitchen, and they're just kind of like different tasks you perform, and it's super duper animated. So if you screw up, you get someone just like blowing up in your face and everything. So
Did you play the first one?
no, I never did.
Nah.
Oh, jeez.
The big I haven't played the second one yet, but I believe the big like advancement there is that they actually put in online multiplayer on there, where before it was only local, which is cool because there's just not as many local games anymore. But it got to a point where like I got it and my friends had it. I'm like, well, they live states away. I want to play with them, so I was stuck at pretty much playing the first one all on my own.
Okay.
Nice.
So did anyone here play Cooking Mama or no?
No, I've
Okay.
it's on my list of games to play eventually, but it's pretty far down that list.
It should be. It should be.
I'm sure. It's not a very long game though. It's something you could.
No.
It's not even like a structured game necessarily.
Sure.
It's just like a bunch of like mini games where you just cook various foods type
Okay.
thing. it's
So like
say-
a WarioWare of cooking.
Yes, that's a great way of describing it.
Cooking Wario.
And it's great too because it made use of the same gimmicks that were in the DS and the Wii also.
Nice.
So it's like, you'd have to blow on food to cool on it, so, blow into the microphone type thing. If you were like grinding meat, you have to like do a circle like this with the Wii controller and everything.
But the real question is it the Dark Souls of cooking games?
No, I would say Overcooked 2 is actually, there's some times when it gets really difficult.
Yeah, I can see that. I've only really played the first one extensively, very little amount of the second, but yeah, it gets tough.
Yeah.
If you want to test your relationship, play Overcooked. Any of them.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, John, what do you got?
All right, my number 5 is Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. So
Nice.
I never had a Wii U. I didn't even know anyone that had a Wii U at all. So I never got a chance. Hey, I'm at the first one. But
We were the only two. It's okay.
yeah,
It's
good
okay,
job.
yeah.
So I never got a chance to play this originally, as well as like Mario Kart 8. So I really love that they're bringing all those popular games back for the Switch. And so I played Donkey Kong when it first came out this year, and I wouldn't say it's my favorite Donkey Kong game of all time, but it's up there. It's very well made. It gets pretty difficult in parts, but I really enjoyed it. Just an overall very well made platformer.
Absolutely. You might see that coming up on another list later on.
Ooh.
John mentioned about games coming from the Wii U to the Switch. Omar, do you have any particular game you would want coming from the Wii U to the Switch that hasn't been announced yet?
I would say probably 3D World.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
That was a good
just
game.
off the top of my head without actually thinking extensively about it. Maybe Devil's Third? No. But no, definitely 3D World would be a lot of fun to play on the go and just be able to play again in general.
Right.
Because my Wii U is not getting hooked up again anytime soon.
Mine would be Mario Maker. Like I've watched
Oh,
so
yeah.
many videos on that. Like I wanted to come to the Switch so badly,
I almost feel like that's a
John on that.
guarantee, even though they haven't
Yeah.
announced it.
right?
Yeah.
I really hope it does.
It makes too much sense not to.
Yeah.
Mhm. And everyone's like, oh, well, there's no gamepad, but it's like, you can just do the editing in handheld mode and then...
The whole tablet is a touch screen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You
Yeah.
should ship a stylus with it too if you really wanted to. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Dropping right next to the game chip in the case wouldn't cost them any more impact.
Do it.
Yeah.
Cowards.
So,
I'd pay
Works.
an extra like $10 or so for it.
I don't care. I'll pay the extra $10
Yeah.
Yeah.
for Mario Maker on the Switch.
hmm Yeah, otherwise there are those little cheapy styluses that you can pick up.
They're so cute.
Let's see. Kevin,
My little lightsaber.
Hi.
what do you got for number 5?
Okay, for number 5, now my number 5 to number 3 is going to be very similar, but I've noticed that this in 2018, the Switch got a lot of free-to-play games coming to the platforms, and the one I tried for my, at least for my number 5 is Warframe. Warframe came to the Switch.
Nice.
I tried it out. It's really solid because I had played Warframe before on the PS4, but it still has the same problem that I always have with Warframe in general. Is that once you finish the tutorial, once you start getting out there, it doesn't give you a clear progression of what you should be doing next. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
otherwise, it runs beautifully and it actually runs really well. I'm actually surprised how the Switch version handles Warframe's graphics. You can even have options to turn down the blooms, the lighting details, the shadows. You have a lot of more control over what you can do in Warframe
Interesting.
than most other games would allow you to do on the Switch.
Right. Yeah, I know there was a huge Digital Foundry video covering Warframe specifically on the Switch and how they got it running so smoothly, and it's really interesting.
Yeah. But I do recommend people to at least try it out, download it, because it is really cool. It's really fluid. It's smooth. Whether you can get past the tutorial after that, I don't know, but at least give it a shot. It's actually pretty cool and it's free. So
Yeah.
Warframe is always really interesting to me because like I played it when it like first came out on the Xbox and PS4,
me
and
too. It was so different
it-
back then.
it's not for me, or at least it wasn't back then. I haven't tried it since then. I'm like, oh, okay. I wasn't very much into Destiny, and it reminded me too much of Destiny. I don't know, just like the aesthetic of it. I don't even know if it's still like that, but like I was like, okay, this is just a cheap cash in. This game's probably going to die off. But like, even still today, there's a huge fan base around it. It's not talked about as much as your Fortnites and your other games like that, but it's very popular still.
Yeah.
There's a
Absolutely.
very interesting history around Warframe and everything, and like all the development cycles it went through to make it to the point it's at today. Like I think you only have to go as far back as like 2015 or 14. It was a very much a different game doing it today.
It was advertised as a different game too,
Okay.
for a while there.
But yeah, I tried it earlier in 2018 actually, and I couldn't get into it for. I think these are kind of petty reasons, but they still kind of upset me whenever they do it. Like it launches you straight into the game against like enemies, which is all fine and good because I get like engaging tutorial. But on PC, I don't really like that. At least bring me into a main menu first, so because your game's auto detect graphics setting system and stuff. I need to change my resolution from 720p up. I need to adjust it, etc., etc.
Jeez.
Yeah, stuff like that. So that kind of something. And then I didn't like that in the tutorial, you one-shot the enemies. So
Yeah.
like I could never get an idea as to what the combat system would be like because they're just one-shotting everything. So
Interesting.
that's my critiques of Warframe right there.
I've never gotten into Warframe, but I do know a few people who actually are really into it, and it sounds like if once you get into it, it's a pretty good game, and it's not like some other free-to-play games where it's all about milking you dry, pay-to-win kind of stuff. But, yeah. All right, and my number 4, it is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. It is the best Donkey Kong Country game that exists. I think that retro.
Words.
I mean, not when you're right, but.
Oh,
Ooh.
But no, in all honesty, it is the best Donkey Kong Country game that I've played. I've played the first one and then the 2 retro made Donkey Kong Country games. I didn't play it on the Wii. I played the first one on the 3DS, so that probably has part of the reason to do why I like the retro ones. 'Cause I didn't have to live through the terrible waggle of the Wii version.
Right.
But yeah, I really liked it on 3DS, but then even more so Tropical Freeze on Switch and Wii U. There's just some of the best platformers that I've really played in general.
yeah, for sure. One thing I would hope that they would bring back at some point is being able to play as the other Kongs, because
Right.
at least in single player, like you can only play as Donkey Kong, and then they like hang on your back, which is cool, and it adds like a whole different like new layer of like planning. Oh, am I going through this next part of the level with Diddy or Dixie or Cranky?
Right.
Because they all changed up that gameplay a lot. But I always enjoyed the original Donkey Kong Country games playing as Diddy, and just it didn't really change anything. I don't know. I just like Diddy Kong.
He cartwheels instead of
Yeah.
rolls. There you go.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
completely game changer.
But yeah, no, it's
DKC speedrun earlier.
I missed that one actually. I caught some bits of it, and yeah, it's one of my favorite games of all time. Actually, the original Donkey Kong Country.
Okay.
But I saw that Tropical Freeze is gonna have a run sometime later this week, so I'm looking forward to that. I'll probably be at work, so maybe not.
Rip.
Watch it when I get home. But yeah, it's with Tropical Freeze. It's really more so the level design that really impressed me. I know people usually knock Donkey Kong Country games for Donkey Kong, he feels too heavy and he slides all over the place, but it's not so much that you can't control it. It's definitely still a very precise platformer, and you can only really have yourself to blame if you slide off of a platform. So get over it.
Momentum is a thing, people.
Exactly. It's more realistic. There we go.
Right.
Like a giant monkey jumping on glaciers. Sure, why not?
I don't see any problems with that. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it makes it look pretty. Who knows?
Yeah.
Especially if it's that level where, that style of level where they're all the silhouettes and the white backgrounds. from the retro Donkey Kong Country games. Let's see, we've got Taylor now. Your number 4.
All right, my number 4 is Dead Cells, and I actually did kind of hate myself after I picked the game up because I was looking at it. Andrew and Anthony had been raving about it over on Power Up for a couple weeks straight or something. I was looking at it when buying it and everything. And I was like, I don't like these sort of games. It's like I've only liked 1 or 2 throughout my entire history of playing games. So it's like this would be a waste of $25, but pulled the trigger, got it on Switch, so I could just kind of play it anywhere. And yeah, it's a ton of fun. I liked it a lot. I guess you would consider it a platformer, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't played it, but I hear most people calling it a roguelike.
Yeah. I played it, but only on PC.
I don't even know what that term means. So.
Pretty much you die a lot, and yeah.
Oh, so this is like the Dark Souls, a platformer.
Dying is sort of so different from Dark Souls. A lot of the time with roguelike, it's kind of like randomly generated levels. You die a lot, and you learn through dying, pretty much. So you learn different enemy attack patterns, and you can get different weapons that you can unlock, and then start out with stronger weapons the next time you come back to life.
Mm-hmm.
All that kind of stuff that I'm not really interested in.
Okay. Yeah, and specifically, it's like platformers don't really appeal to me, but this one was pretty unique, and I love the amount of different systems that are in it, or rather items and everything. So it's they have a whole skew of different ranged items, melee items, and whatnot. And overall, it's just a really, really fun game. Although I did get a little bit, I guess I would say frustrated near the end of it, because the end levels get longer and longer and longer, and if you die, you're at the beginning. So it's like, oh, well, there goes 20 minutes of my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the big things that I noticed you said about Dead Cells, just it didn't seem like your type of game, it was actually what I've heard from a lot of other people before they got into the game. Just that, this isn't the kind of thing that I'm normally into, but then I picked up Dead Cells and it was awesome, which I have not picked up Dead Cells yet.
I think it's because the core gameplay is so good that you kind of don't mind losing progress, but it's not like you're really losing progress. You're still making some kind of progression through the through the systems that they have of turning your souls, or I forgot what they're called, but the little blue orbs to gain more armor, health, potions, all that stuff. You're still making progress. So that way your next run could be easier than the first time.
Looks like we lost John here.
Yeah, he's having some video issues.
Oh, man.
There he is.
There we go.
Yeah,
our faces were getting cut in half for a second there by the overlay, but we're all right now.
It was quite painful.
Taylor, do you use the joystick when you're playing Dead Cells 2, or do you use the little cross?
I definitely used the joystick.
Okay. And then it's fine for you? You have no problem making precision jumps and attacks with that?
It's no problem, because it's only on 4 axes, or axes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
I don't think, as far as I remember, I don't think there's a diagonal aspect to it, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not quite Super Metroid. Sad.
Not quite. I tried as I might, I could not shine spark my way through the game. Okay.
Now that would be something that they could add to Dead Cells.
Yeah.
Okay, so if John can hear me and his camera's alive and everything, awesome. We can get to his number 4.
All right, my number 4 is Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu.
Nice.
So I grew up with Pokemon. I actually just recently, not this year anymore, but last year played through Pokemon Red again on a Game Boy. And I mean, this is just a remaster of that, a remake of it pretty much. And I love little things that they've thrown into it. The whole seeing the Pokemon in the world before you walk into them. I was talking on a podcast that I do with a friend that I really hope that's something that they bring into the next generation of Pokemon games that's supposed to come out this year. And also I love that I was finally able to play a Pokemon game cooperatively. I have a 6-year-old daughter and she loves Pokemon, so just being able to run through that with her was awesome. It does need some tweaking though, because playing with 2 people just completely breaks the game. Like it's just way too easy.
Right.
So I hope they tweak it a little bit. I don't know, maybe buff up the opposition or give them 2 Pokemon the fight as well. I also hope they bring back the battling Pokemon before you catch them. While I do like Pokemon Go, and I thought it worked well in Let's Go, the whole like just throwing balls at them, I hope they don't bring that back for the like mainline games. But overall, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, I guess, were just exactly what I needed them to be.
Absolutely, yeah. Gosh, when you said the Pokemon game coming out this year, that threw me for a loop because I just realized it's 2019. But yeah, the thing that you said about the battles with where you have to whittle down their health and then you can catch them, I feel like that's such a smart idea comparing it to just the throwing the balls, because it actually makes them feel more special, almost like boss battles within Pokemon. I kind of wish that they would do that in a way, like still, like you said, bring back the lowering their health to be able to catch them more easily. But I think that with like legendaries and others, they should just make them ridiculously high level, but make it so you have to knock them out first before you can catch them, because that definitely adds a different sense of just urgency, especially with the timer. It's a completely different feel to legendary battles.
Yeah, that was always one of the things that threw me off, was like if you made the Pokemon faint, like you had no shot at catching him. Like it's laying on the ground there. Why can't I try and catch it?
It's not dead, right? You just
Come on, let me catch this. But yeah, no, I get what they were going for. They were just trying to integrate it with Go, because that's still one of the biggest phone games in the world right now. I do too. So I understand it, and it worked well for what they were going for. But I just hope that I want some aspects of Let's Go brought into the next gen, but not all of them.
This is semantics here, but I mean, in the real world, wouldn't you want to make sure like your Pokemon is in a really sedated state, i.e.,
right,
trying to catch it?
Yeah, if the Pokemon is poisoned and is just laying there puking on the ground, hey, there's my chance.
Hey, Pokemon don't puke. Come on. They also don't die.
They hyper beam.
They do die.
I know.
Except for that. No, it's like they do die, or they don't die, except for that Eradicate that your rival had that one time.
Cubo's mother.
Oh yeah, that too.
Poor Marowak.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what do you got, Kevin, for number 4?
Number 4, we have another free-to-play game. This one is Paladins, which is made by the creators of Smite on the consoles. Nice. In 2018, it came out on the Switch for free. You could have bought it 3 months beforehand with the Founders Pack, which gives you access to all the heroes. But eventually, it was made free once that little small period of time was gone. So you could say that kind of was like the beta, or the people who bought the Founders Pack, because they got to play the game. And eventually the free version came out, and then people could play that version. And I thought it was really fun. It's kind of funny how there's certain gaming communities, like Call of Duty on the PS4 is a very different beast than Call of Duty on the Xbox, like especially the player bases. And it's just funny seeing the Switch player base, because when you go to places like Reddit, the forums, they act so differently, and certain characters are more popular on the Switch than they are on other platforms, and just things like that. But overall, I was really impressed at how well it ran. And I thought it was going to be my Overwatch replacement, because I haven't been really playing Overwatch for a while. And I love the idea of having Paladins on the go, because then I could just play a quick match whenever I was, wherever I was, if I had a Wi-Fi signal, and be able to play Paladins. But towards, I want to say like a month or 2 into the life cycle of it coming out, you're starting to see the problems of Paladins running on Switch, mostly because you find out that the way that they patch these games is an overall patch for the Paladin games across all platforms. And of course, like PC changes versus console changes versus handheld changes, there's a lot of things that get broken in between each patch release. So, but I do give credit. It was really fun, at least for that first 2 months. And they had a battle pass, and I bought their battle pass because I thought it was a good investment. Okay. Yeah. And I played it throughout, but once they started introducing new heroes, and then started doing these patch changes that, affect all the SKUs, they kind of got broken for a while.
Yeah,
I don't know
that-
if they fixed it because I never really went back.
That was good clarification there. It was fun for the first 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I around E3, this last E3, another site that I write for, one of
Cheating on us?
the shh, don't tell Andrew. Sorry, don't tell Anthony is what I meant to say. So one of the guys was at E3 and he got everyone codes for that founders pack for Paladins. So I downloaded it, tried it out, and like the first thing though when I noticed, I just got to the character select screen. There were just like way too many characters and like too many weapon options. I was like, I just started the game. I have no idea what to choose. I don't know what I'm doing, and I was never really able to get into it then. But yeah,
It's one of those games where you have to like read the subreddit for like a week beforehand, just kind of know what you're doing when you get into it.
I know.
probably. I'm sure if I would have gotten into it, I probably would have enjoyed it because I really liked Overwatch. But it's just really tough for a newcomer from what I experienced.
I mean, for what it is on the Switch, good job on them, like, filling up that Overwatch hole. Because, like,
Right.
Yeah.
I still play Overwatch almost every night, and, I mean, I have Paladins downloaded on my Switch. When it first came out, I was like, oh, yeah, this will be my, substitute for that, unless Blizzard actually makes Overwatch on it. Didn't really last as long as I thought I would. I only played it for a couple weeks because other games came out that were more interesting. But I mean, for what it does for a free game, not bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just surprised because a lot of kids have Switches and there's plenty of free options like Fortnite, Warframe, Paladins. There's a lot of games you can play that you don't have to pay anything for, and I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
But-
no, that's awesome.
The problem is that they're hidden. Like it's kind of hard to find them if you're not in the know. Yeah.
So spread the good
Okay.
word, people.
Yes.
Don't
All
get Paladins,
right.
It's broken. Let's get.
So, here we are, number 3. And I can assume that almost nobody will be able to give any input on this one. But my number 3 was Detention. So this game was a port from PC, came out this year on Switch. But essentially it's like a horror game, side-scrolling, made by a developer from Thailand, Red Candle Games. But yeah, it's 1960s Thailand, and they're under martial law, and the government is this super strict, kind of overbearing entity. Because they're all like, oh, you can't be communist. Essentially, think the Red Scare in the U.S. if you're familiar with that times 10.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it was an incredibly like unsettling horror game. There were like a couple jump scares here and there, but definitely the type of horror that it wasn't that kind of just like, oh, I got you type of thing. It was actually like really just kind of, for better words, spooky type of horror.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it was really good. Best played with a headset and handheld mode. And lights off.
Night under the sheets.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's actually how I played the game. So,
All right.
Okay.
if you're looking for good horror, Detention's the way to go.
Is it a cheaper game?
Yeah, I think it's probably around $15. Let's see. 'Cause yeah, it's on. I'm pretty sure it also ended up coming to PS4 as well, but I know it's on PC and Switch. Let's see.
How long would you say it is for like someone to just run through it?
Yeah, it's only a couple hours long. So like most indie games, I guess I maybe shouldn't say most indie games, but a lot of indie games, it's just like a couple hours experience. You could probably finish it in one sitting, but more likely two. Let's see.
I'm looking at screenshots right now of the game. Is there any puzzle solving mechanics in this, or is it just
Yeah, there
the
are
story?
a couple of puzzles here and there, and they're actually really smart puzzles. It's like there'll be the most memorable one is you'll be walking through the character's school, and there's this like song playing on loop, just like a section of this song playing over the intercom, and it's like this really haunting tune that just keeps repeating over and over again. And then eventually you find this room that has a piano, and like you hit the keys and you're like, oh, this kind of sounds familiar, and then you play that melody that you heard before, and it unlocks this other part that you have to get to, and it's like,
That's cool.
yeah,
All right.
fun stuff. Can't find the price. Oh well, buy it.
Alright.
Just give them all your money. Who cares how much it costs?
All right.
Let's see. So now we've got Taylor's number 3 game of 2018.
All right, so my number 3 for 2018 is Octopath Traveler. Came out on the Switch, and I gotta say I was excited since we first saw this game, like the 30-second long teaser trailer for it. I was excited for it. You know, everyone has been hyped for Super Smash Brothers and everything. No, I was excited for this game this year. It came out back in July though, and it is probably one of the best JRPGs I've played in a very long time, to be honest. I enjoy. To me, it's like the standout thing was the art style to it, but then the writing and story once you get into it, although it's very, very dense, is super good and interesting. I just kind of fell in love with the world.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I want to play it, but it's such a long game.
it is.
And if
Whatever-
Persona 5 really ends up coming out, I'm not gonna have time for 2 RPGs this year.
Right. Yeah, and then also with Octopath Traveler, there was this joke that went around. I guess so when it released in China, some Chinese students who were learning English would set the game's language to English to reinforce their learning, and they joked about it being an English exam, just how difficult the translation is. So I thought that was interesting, and it's
Nice.
like it does speak to the density of it. So if you're looking for a really good, very story-driven, dense RPG game, go pick up Octopath Traveler.
Is there any voiceover, or is it all text?
There is some voiceover.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Did you do the demo to the full version of the game?
No, I
Halfway?
never did. I didn't spoil
Okay.
myself. Yeah,
Okay.
I just got the straight-on game.
Nice. Yeah, I've always been looking
I think we
into
lost
it
John
just
again.
because it looks so pretty.
I think we lost John again.
Oh yeah. You can tell because his Funko Pops in the background aren't moving.
Right, exactly.
Well, since John is experiencing temporary
There he is.
paralysis. Oh, hey.
Hey, sorry
he's
about
not.
that.
He's here.
Oh, actually,
Just in the nick of time.
never mind.
Oh, can you hear me?
John, what do you got for number 3?
Go ahead and skip me.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
looks like I was kidding. Hold on. Okay, you're back. And
No, he's
kind of
not.
choppy. Right? Yes, he is.
Sorry, internet issues.
It's all right. You live in this country.
Yeah.
It's to be expected.
All right, are we on me now?
We sure
Yes.
are.
Okay, my number 3 is Super Mario Party.
Nice.
Easily, in my opinion, the best Super Mario Party in a long time. It does have issues. There's only 3 maps to play on at the beginning of the game, and you can only unlock a 4th. So they definitely, I hope at some point, bring in more boards to play on. But probably the best motion controls in a game I've ever played with between the mini games. I mean, and that's saying something because the Wii games I hated. I just hated the waggling and everything. It just works in the Switch so well. Huge list of characters to play as. There are some side little things you can play called River Raft Survival, and there's also Toad's Rec Room, which are decent. They don't really, I mean, the big mainstay of course is the regular Mario Party mode, like always, but
Right.
very well made. I hope they really expand on it going forward, but yeah. Have any of you played it?
Oh, have I played it?
It's let me tell you about this one time.
Sort of. Sort of, actually, no. No. I know, I don't really have any specific memories from playing this version of Mario Party, but I've played it with a couple people, and it's been a good time. We tried that reverse survival mode a couple times. It's definitely not the star of the game, but
No.
it's good enough, and it's kind of fun that they have the team party games, or I'm sorry, mini games, where it's all 4 people teaming up together to accomplish the same goal. It's kind of nice for if you're playing with like the whole family, so nobody feels left out, nobody is sad because they suck at Mario Party.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Did you try the two switch mode? I know there's a game mode, right, where you can combine two switches.
Right.
If there's 2 switches, you can like lay them on a table, and it will change like the the landscape of whatever game you're playing. Really cool stuff. The problem there is you need 2 switches. So
And do
you
you need
need-
2 cartridges?
I believe so.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that. I haven't given it a try.
I just
but
got
I
really
believe
excited
you.
because I'm gonna try that out next time I'm over
that
at my
work?
friend's house because they have a Switch, and we're gonna do that.
Does that work off like the same Wi-Fi connection, or can you just do it off NFC? Does this what you can have NFC? I don't know.
So,
It's,
sorry, go ahead.
it's just I don't know. However they
Magic?
connect together. Yeah,
Magic.
magic.
Okay, so
It just detects where the other one is,
Right.
and you like swipe your finger across the screen on both ends, and it just knows that that's where it's supposed to be, I guess.
Oh, wow.
yeah, that's the way it makes the connection, just by the swipe.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Yep. All right, so Kevin, what do you got for number 3?
All right, last free-to-play game. I've been playing Fortnite a lot on the Switch. It blew up. Obviously, Fortnite blew up huge in 2018.
Never heard of it.
And then funny enough, I've been playing with my 10-year-old brother-in-law. Yeah, my
Nice.
10-year-old brother-in-law. And me and him, we're just having fun. Like, we're not really doing like battle royale modes. It's just him and me playing the playground mode, and him killing me and me killing him. You know, it's just a fun game to play with with him at his age level, and it's just fun. You know.
Yeah.
So I just love the fact that it's on the Switch, it's on your phones, it's on your consoles, it's on your PC. It's everywhere. You can play with anyone at any time. And also,
Nice.
you do not need the Nintendo Online service to be able to play any of these free-to-play games. All these free-to-play games
Right.
play online on their own. You do not need a Nintendo Online account for them.
Nice.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you don't need a Nintendo Online account to play all the free-to-play games.
Oh, dude, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Okay.
'Cause I don't have a Nintendo Online account because I don't really see the value in it. I don't play Splatoon often enough to justify $20 even if it's just $20 a year. I just don't have enough games where I can justify that cost.
No, I get it.
Makes sense.
I think probably the biggest thing with Fortnite for me on the Switch is isn't it the only game that you can just hook your headset right up to it and
Yes.
you get the voice chat?
Yep.
Like,
Okay.
why is this not a thing in everything, Nintendo? You can obviously do it, but no,
Yeah, I know.
they want us to do their stupid app. Ugh.
Stupid app. What are you
That's
talking
so
about?
weird that Fortnite's the only game that does that. They're the
Well,
only
it's-
ones that managed to
Because it's the biggest
pinhole
game.
Nintendo into that you know
Yeah.
into that feature.
Well, yeah, Fortnite, Epic Games, they control everything in gaming now, so
Exactly. Exactly.
that's the way it is. That's all right. Yeah, they're doing
It's
good
only
stuff
those
at
little
least.
Xbox players. All right.
I hope everyone enjoyed the speedrun of Mega Man in my background. We're now on a Majora's Mask. By the
Oh,
way.
that's right. I forgot that we could see that in the background. That's all right.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
As you're watching the podcast.
hopefully, Games Swim Quick doesn't come take us down.
Copyright.
Oh,
All right. So now we've got the top 2 of everyone's list. My number 2 is The Messenger. This might be another one that nobody has played.
Where do you find these games?
I've heard a lot about it.
Me
I
too.
haven't played it.
Is this like the Silent Man?
No, it's actually a good game.
Much better.
That's the Quiet Man, isn't it?
Oh,
Right?
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no.
the Silent Man is the Square Enix debacle that was like so buggy and broken that everyone started making fun of for a while.
I think
there.
it was Quiet Man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Who knows?
Whatever. Moving on.
But yeah, The Messenger is a very good indie game. I'd say it's probably if you had to compare it to any other indie game, it would be like this year's Shovel Knight. So the way the game starts out, you're this ninja that needs to save the world, and you get the title of the messenger because you need to bring this scroll to the specific location. But the neat thing about it is it starts out as like an 8-bit 2D platformer, and then eventually it brings in the time travel mechanic where it changes the art style completely to 16-bit, and it becomes a Metroidvania instead.
Nice.
And
Alrighty.
yeah, it's really nice. You collect these little spirit drops to get upgrades and everything. And the way that they do deaths is actually really interesting. They don't have lives. There's just this little demon that follows you around after you die, and they collect the little spirit shards that you collect after you die. And then once you've collected enough, it goes away, and you can actually start saving up again for more upgrades. But overall,
cool.
it's
That
like,
is different.
it's a really fun indie game. I don't remember. I think it was like Sabotage Studios was the name of the developer. It's actually their first game that they've put out, and they won the award for Best New Indie Developer and Best New Indie Game at the Game Awards. But yeah, it's just a really solid platformer Metroidvania.
Isn't it like really based on a Ninja Gaiden?
Yeah, that's another thing. It's a lot of inspiration came from the Ninja Gaiden series, and I believe the original composer of the soundtrack for Ninja Gaiden actually made a couple tracks for them. That's the other thing. The music in this game is incredible. I don't think that the songs that original composer made, though, eventually ever showed up in the game, but they're on the soundtrack, and they're all really neat stuff. But yeah. Anybody else have anything about the Messenger, or covered
I kind of feel
everything?
like because it came out during the holidays, it kind of got buried a little bit, like the news-wise.
Yeah, it came out end of August, early September.
It did. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't push it too much. It was on a couple Nindie Directs and Nintendo Directs because the big thing was with the Switch, but it was also on PC. But yeah, just a fun indie game to play on the go. And then Taylor, what do you got for number 2?
All right, number 2 is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Woo!
Woo.
I mean, yeah, what more needs to be said about this game at this point?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, everyone's covered it to hell. We've covered it to hell here. So you know what Super Smash Bros. Is.
It exists.
Was I excited for the game? Yes. Did I want to know everything about the game before it came out? No. I was just happy to get it and everything.
I
I've
still
always enjoyed Smash Brothers, and yeah, it's like this one is no different. I love all the fighters in it. I'm still maining the one I did in Smash 4, so that's not really an issue. But yeah, it's just no, I have not actually played World of Light yet. I've just been fighting.
Nice.
It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just excited for all the, drama behind, because with the Smash community, there's always going to be drama, especially behind the tournament stuff. So there's going to be. So I'm still waiting for that shoe to drop.
I don't know.
Bayonetta's
They're
still
actually, yeah. Bayonetta's good. Definitely not as good as she was in Smash 4.
No.
The Melee community has actually been embracing the game a lot. Some of the top players like Armada and Leffen have really been taken to the game, and Leffen's actually been entering tournaments, and they're all talking about how that they're going to pick it up as their side game.
Yeah, Leffen's been putting a lot of YouTube videos on Smash Ultimate.
Yep.
I like it
Good
also
stuff.
because there's a really nice balance between, it's not as casual feeling as Smash 4 was, at least to me anyway.
Yeah.
It has a little bit more of a technical stuff to it, which, so I think it has this really nice balance between everything. And I'm sorry, John, what were you going to say?
No, I didn't have anything.
Okay. I thought I cut someone off. Anyway, so yeah, that's number 2 for me this year.
Nice. And John.
All right.
What do
my
you
number
got?
2 is Diablo 3. So
Nice.
when did this come out? Was it November?
Yes.
Yeah.
it was.
Okay, so I didn't get to play it until just before the end of the year, and I'd been wanting to have it, but I was kind of waiting for it to go on sale. And this is I've played Diablo 3 quite a few times before, but this is probably one of my favorite ports of it. It just runs so well. It is an older game, so it doesn't really take anything away from the past ports graphic wise or anything. It just does what Diablo's supposed to do. It's a great time waster. A lot of my time on my Switch is spent when I'm done playing on my Xbox or PS4, and I'm just laying down watching YouTube, and I'll just have my Switch up, and it's just a great time waster. That's all I really need out of games on my Switch for the most part. It's just so good.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
So good.
So good.
So Kevin,
I'm just gonna announce
what do
that
you
my number
have?
two is also my number 2 is also Diablo 3, just to go along with John. Again, it's great. I bought Diablo on everything on my Xbox, PS3, PS4, Xbox One, PC, and now on my Switch.
Taylor loves it.
So yeah, do I have my characters and do I have Max character in all the systems? Yes, but
Okay.
but yeah, it's such a great port. It's just so fun to play it on, especially like, let's say, you know what, I'm gonna knock out. It's time to go to sleep. You know, pick up my Switch, play 10 minutes on Diablo 3. You know, it's pretty good
Do a
time.
Greater Rift? Yeah.
2 hours
Yeah,
later, you
yeah.
actually put it down.
Like, oh crap, I forgot to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've played Diablo 3 since it released on PC. So,
Nice.
it's been a while.
Yeah, when did that game come out again?
2012?
Originally?
2012.
Yeah,
Maybe
something like
2011.
that.
Maybe 2011. It was in May of. Hold on, I think it was in May of 2011.
It might have been, because it was like right around when I graduated, so yeah, to be then.
Okay. It was
Yeah,
May
I
15th,
mean-
2012.
I know for me, I bought it. I started getting into Diablo once the Reaper of Souls expansion came out, and once I got Reaper of Souls on the 360, no, it wasn't 360. When the 360 version came out, then I knew I wanted to get it on all the other systems, and then that's when I started collecting them.
Mhm.
Okay.
Nice.
All right.
All right. Time for our number ones. All right.
Bum, 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 bum.
So, this is going to be a surprise to everyone, but Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is my number 1 game of the year for
Nice.
Nintendo. I kind of like the description that Sakurai gave during the E3 presentation, where he was just like, Super Smash Bros. Is a game where you hit your opponents and raise their percentage and knock them off the stage. And then the
Right.
end. And that's
Mhm.
it's about it. No.
Also, never ask him for anything ever again.
Yeah. Oh, he's
Well,
giving
after
you his
getting-
soul already.
Yeah, which after
No.
getting Persona or getting Joker from Persona 5 into Ultimate,
Yeah.
it's like I'm now convinced. It's like adhere to the meme, guys.
Yeah.
Never ask Sakurai for anything.
No, I'm gonna
ever
ask him
again.
for spoilers. Mute your speakers for the next minute if you don't want to hear a spoiler. But Minecraft Steve.
Oh, yeah.
In
I
no,
hope
not just Minecraft Steve, but Minecraft Steve wearing
Yeah, no.
the armor of Master Chief.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
Is someone in script
Banjo
that-
Kazooie or I Riot. All right.
Wait, okay, hold on. No, I've missed this meme. What is this? I don't.
This is the newest like leak
Yeah.
thing that's come out.
Oh.
It's someone like got into the files and looked, and it's got like Piranha Plant and Joker on there, but there's like other ones. It's like something called Brave and
Yeah, they actually only had placeholders for the first 3 DLC characters. So yeah, Piranha Plant, Joker, and then what you just said, Brave, which people are assuming is Erdrick from Dragon Ball.
Dragon Quest.
Dragon Quest, yeah.
Okay.
I
That'd be
just
a
said
fun
Dragon Ball
character.
because I couldn't remember the name for a second. And I assumed that would get a good reaction.
But the last character, come on, I don't think it's real.
It's gonna be
not
Goku,
Steve.
clearly.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
They already have the Goku spirit though, but different kind of
Yeah,
Goku.
sure. Cool. Okay. Wow.
All right, Taylor, what do you got for number 1?
Oh, okay. Number 1 is Let's Go Pikachu for me. I'm repping
Nice.
Team Pikachu, and kind of as John said, I grew up playing Pokemon Red, and then eventually the very cute, and then eventually the Pokemon was it Yellow or Gold? No, it would have been Yellow.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
Yep.
Pikachu's a
Yep.
starter also, and then
Yep.
also remember growing up, I would watch. This would have been the first season of the TV show, and
Mhm.
because it would always come on after Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was also into Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid, right? So it's like on like a week nightly basis, I would always watch Yu-Gi-Oh and then Pokemon after dinner, and so
Nice.
yeah, I loved Let's Go Pikachu this year on the Switch because I mean the game is super happy like in general and everything.
Right.
Like it
It's
brings
like a
me like
really
like
feel
I'm
good
al-
time.
yeah, it's like I always have such a smile on my face whenever I'm playing it. But it was also this really cool callback to my childhood and some of my earliest
Mhm.
gaming memories playing it on Game Boy, whatnot. So that was really cool. And then I do want to take John up on the whole like catching system. I actually hope they bring this catching system into the whatever the next
next
gen
one?
Pokemon will be. Yeah, this
Gen
year's
8?
mainline Pokemon will be. I actually prefer this system a lot more because I feel like it not only does it appeal to like a more of a casual base, and I'm not calling myself casual necessarily, but I mean audience expansion is always good. But I always find it
Mhm.
really frustrating that sometimes your Pokemon will be at such a higher level that you just kind of one shot them, or
Yeah.
there's no really effective way to get a Pokemon that you want to catch down because maybe your party will be like under leveled, so they just get wrecked in one shot by whoever you're fighting.
Oh, just learn false swipe. They'll do it for you.
You're right.
Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah.
I think it would, I really, one thing that I actually really hope they do is that this next one is the more traditional game and everything. I want to see the Let's Go games like continue. Like let's
Oh,
get remakes of Silver, Gold, and Crystal. I'm like,
Yes.
come on, give me Let's Go Cyndaquil. I would be
That'd be adorable.
right. So,
Can we get a Let's Go Piplup?
Or if
my
it's
God.
yeah.
remake of Crystal, Let's Go Suicune. Yeah. Start out with a legendary.
Oh, just a legendary.
Let's go Entei.
I mean, Eevee and Pikachu, you could get a Mew right away.
Jesus,
so-
they might as well be legendaries in that game though with the stat boost they got.
Right.
John and Taylor, have you guys synced up your Pokemon Go to those games? Because I heard you can't sync them
No.
up.
I haven't. I've used the Pokeball Plus on Go though, so
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
and that was pretty cool. You could just like drive around and it lights up and you're like, oh, hey, I'll give it a try.
Just quick note: Culture of Gaming does not support driving while playing Pokemon Go.
Always remember.
Unless it's with the Pokeball Plus.
Remember, you are a passenger.
Yeah, I was always a
You are
passenger. Of
yeah.
course.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Good stuff.
that's what I got.
All right,
That's my number one Switch game.
John.
All right. Again, big surprise here. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I mean, this
Yeah.
was easily the most hyped game of the year for me. I was looking forward to it so much, and like Taylor said, they did show off way too much of it. But in this case, I didn't care. I was just looking forward to it. I didn't have a Wii U, like I said earlier, so I hadn't played a Smash game in a long time, and I've always loved this series. So it's just such a love letter to not only Nintendo, but just games in general now. Like,
Yeah.
get all these guest characters and everything. It's just... Thank you, Sakurai. Like, it's just so cool. I mean, without Smash, like, we would never see anything like this. Like,
Yeah.
it's just such an awesome game. I don't know. I wish the online was better. That would be awesome. But,
Mhm.
I mean, just overall, just such a good game.
Yeah,
Remember-
Sorry, go ahead.
Never ask Sakurai for anything. Never.
You're right.
Oh, he's given us enough.
Yeah, I mostly have good experience using the LAN adapter. But yeah, even here and there are some issues because of clearly the other people, not me. I don't have garbage internet. Come
Obviously,
on, people.
I do.
Step it up, guys. Get better internet, pay more money.
Right. Yeah.
Pay more money to have our data caps. Come on.
Mm. Such scrubs.
All
Kevin,
right.
Did you chill out for the Ethernet adapter? Or no?
No, I didn't.
I haven't yet either. It's okay.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen anywhere where to buy it.
Well, they
Yeah, that's true.
they have the
I
official
work at
Nintendo
GameStop.
ones.
I never had it there.
Well, that was my point. Is like I haven't even seen it at GameStop.
Yeah.
Yeah, the two that I have, one that I used for my Wii U and the other that I use for my Switch now, that I'm actually using for my other Switch dock that I have now. Both of them are third-party adapters, and they work
And they're gonna
perfectly
break your
fine.
console.
Hasn't happened yet, so
Chinese wiretap to them.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's okay. I don't mind. They're just getting all my Smash data. That's fine.
Yeah, they already got it. It's fine.
It's like, this guy plays this character. We can get him now.
Way too much. Way too much.
That's true. Yeah, too much. Speaking of playing Super Smash Brothers too much, I used to play a different version of Kevin's #1 game too much on Wii U. What's your #1, Kevin?
Super
My
Smash
number-
Brothers.
Unfortunately, I didn't get it, but I did get Monster Hunter's Generations Ultimate for the Switch, mostly
Ooh.
because I blew the hell out of World and I did everything in World. So, and I need more Monster Hunter, and the Ice Crown won't come out till later this year, and I'm
Right.
having a panic attack, and I want to get more Monster Hunter, get more honor.
Sakurai, get in here, save him.
But yeah, that's been my #1 game of this year. I've already put a ton of time into it. I have over almost 200 hours into it.
Nice.
You know, that's not
Damn.
considering the 1,000 I put into World. So it's
Did
just
it
been
come out
Monster Hunter for me.
August, right?
Yeah, it came out in August, but I got it for Black Friday sales. I was waiting for like a price drop on it because I could
Okay.
wait on it. You know, it's just Monster Hunter.
Yeah, the most experience I've had with Monster Hunter was on the Wii U with 3, and that was
Hello? Oh. Did he go mute for anyone?
Yeah, he went.
Yeah.
Me?
I hear you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The most
Oh,
experience
no.
I had with
Yeah, I was just gonna say the most experience that I had with. I promise it's not my internet, by the way.
Oh, all
it's
of ours.
definitely not mine. It's definitely not mine.
So yeah, the most experience I've had with Monster Hunter was on the Wii U, playing 3. That was probably, I think that was the first game that I've ever played. Like had a 12-hour straight gaming session, and
And that one's rough too.
Yeah.
Like,
Lord.
that was a rough version too.
it sure was. Yeah, it definitely didn't show off everything that the Wii U could do, which is saying a lot because the Wii U wasn't the most powerful console, and 3 definitely didn't look fantastic on it. It was pretty much like those HD remakes that you'll see where it's like, it's an HD now, but we kept all the textures the same as when it was in standard definition.
Oh,
That just means they apply the UI scaler.
Yeah, the UI was actually fine. So that was good.
on that point, I do want to say that it does look really good on Switch.
Nice.
The HD graphics on it, the textures looks really amazing on the Switch. I didn't think it would be such an improvement because I did play Monster Hunter Generations on the 3DS.
Right.
So from that to the Switch, I'm like, oh wow, this is a pretty vastly different improvement.
Well, that's
at least
in-
graphics wise.
It's encouraging they didn't just port it from 3DS with minimal upgrades. But yeah, that's
Right.
definitely another one that I really want to get into because I loved Monster Hunter on Wii U.
You will love it on Switch. Trust me, it's perfect. Do one hunt and then put it down. You know, like
Yeah.
you could do multiple hunts throughout the day,
Oh my gosh.
waiting, whatever.
My setup that I had for that was great because I had my the map on the gamepad, and then I was using the Pro controller, and
Right.
then off to the side I had my laptop with this player-made guide that shows like all the different pieces that you can break off of the monsters on certain points and like weak spots
way
and
to do it.
everything.
That's cool.
It was
That's the
awesome.
way to do it.
Yeah, Monster Hunter's great. More people should play it. That's my opinion on Monster Hunter.
Was there like a Japanese only game that came out this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, for Switch or?
I don't know necessarily. I just remember hearing it's like there's this really cool version of Monster Hunter that only Japan got.
Oh yeah, it's Monster Hunter Online.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of. Okay.
It's like the MMO version of it.
Oh, that's neat. Okay.
All right. So that finishes up all of our lists. Let's see. That means that unfortunately we have to say goodbye now.
Oh no. Oh no.
Put me down.
Everyone. You have
Okay,
any?
so what are you guys excited for?
What are
this
your
year?
last words? Hey.
Wait, no, I like
Calm
Kevin.
down.
I like Kevin's idea. Let's talk about that. What are you guys excited
Yeah.
for this year? Yeah, come on.
That's for next week. Just keep it short.
Just real quick. Just
Oh, it is?
one
I'm
game.
sorry.
One game.
Okay.
Just one game. How about?
Preview. Ooh, give him a little
Ooh.
taste.
Let's see. Man, we don't know everything that's coming.
Give me
out.
Fire Emblem. Where is my Fire Emblem? Where are my waifus?
It's in the
Yeah,
trash
isn't
where it
that one-
belongs.
Isn't that one confirmed to come out this year?
Yes, but
Like-
where is it?
3 Houses or whatever.
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
I mean, give me Mario Maker. I'll be happy.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be cool
Okay.
too.
That's the one I want.
All right. I got Metroid Prime 4
Nice.
and or Metroid Prime Trilogy and or
Ooh.
Persona 5. Nintendo, you
Ooh.
give me any one of those this year, and yeah, I'll.
Oh, if we're really going on like dreams and everything.
No, we're not.
For like the game. Oh,
We're doing that
going there
next
now,
week.
boy.
We're
We're
doing
doing
that
it now,
next
boy.
week.
Just give me.
Oh no! Oh
3D
no!
Zelda.
His computer
Oh,
is
look,
having
look.
troubles
Oh my
again.
god.
His webcam froze.
But yeah, I would say the one that I would have to choose from, and then we'll focus on that next week, would have to definitely be Animal Crossing because I played that way too much on 3DS.
Yeah.
But now we
I really
must
hope
go.
I really hope in the next Animal Crossing that Isabelle comes back and she has like war stars and everything.
Oh,
Smash
absolutely.
Brothers.
I won't.
Exactly.
I mean, I
Blood all over
probably
her.
if I'm going to pre-order the game, and if they don't have that in the previews, then pre-order is going to be canceled. Absolutely.
She has a teardrop just constantly on her eye.
All right.
Okay.
Well, now that we gave enough of a preview for next week, where can everyone find you besides on Culture of Gaming, posting your beautiful articles? Go ahead,
Me?
Taylor.
Who's going?
Yeah.
Okay. The only other place I'm really active on is Twitter by @InfuriousElecon, where I post all sorts of different things. Sometimes I retweet weird stuff. I post like weird pictures of memes or just weird text reads.
Nice. Keep it weird.
Yeah, keep it weird. It's always something. Or I rant about tech. That's been my favorite thing to do lately, heading into the new year. So yeah, if you do that, it's @INFERIUSELLECON. My one last parting word is that. Oh damn it, I forgot. Oh, I'm serious. I've had something since.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
No, I'm sorry. I had something since like I talked about Let's Go Pikachu as my number 1, and I can't remember. Oh my god.
Oh man.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
no.
we'll come back to you if you remember.
Okay.
What do you got, John?
On Twitter, I am @RevexShadows. I just really like having conversations with people. If you got any freelance work you want me to write up, get a hold of me on there. Otherwise, on YouTube, I am also just RevexShadows, or you could go youtube.com/JohnJW92, where I put up news videos, previews, reviews, first impressions, and recently talked about my 5 most hyped games of 2019.
Nice. So, go ahead, Kevin.
You can find me, of course, on my articles on cultureofgaming.com. Right now, I'm working on the handbook for The Last Jedi, which is, it's like a small little coffee book. It just goes through all the scenes, little tidbits, and interviews here and there. So that
Awesome.
review should be coming out next week. And you can find me on Twitter @Superior2099. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, and I am Omar Banat. You can find me on Twitter @OBBanat, OBBANAT. And you can also find me on Culture of Gaming, of course. I write occasionally, mostly edit, so if you see an article posted on there, there's a 33% chance that it was published by me. Or,
Okay.
yeah. Maybe 25 if
Omar is
you
always
include
there
Anthony.
watching.
I'm just in the background.
Yeah. I remembered. So can I just say that
Go ahead.
I named my rival like something. It's inappropriate for a PG podcast, but like expecting him to be like as rivals act. And
Oh, but then he's a
games.
good guy.
But then he's actually a somewhat decent person, so I
You
feel
can-
really bad. and
you
I
can
feel
share
really
that on
bad
the-
since.
You can share that on the post show, which is seen by just us and no one else.
Alright.
All right. So thank you very much for joining us, all three of you. and whoever else is listening right now or in the future on YouTube. Hope that you come back next week and check out what we have, which is going to be our top 5 games coming to Switch and possibly 3DS, and I guess you could say mobile too, since Nintendo makes some mobile games. Everything coming out 2019.
Yeah, how did no one have Just Dance 2019?
I know. Come on.
Yeah, who knows, man?
We missed that one.
Maybe we'll have some Just Dance 2020 on our top 5 list
We're
next
obviously
week.
not a real Nintendo podcast.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Still stick around though, because we like all those third-party
You do,
games. All right, you guys have a great week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Later.